I do want to thank all the speakers for sharing, and I also want to take just a moment to clarify a few things, because a lot of things, and I know my staff is going to review kind of what was done and how information was sent out, but to talk about the process, when this actual process that we utilized is not required. And we did this process so that we could be transparent and involve people in a committee and make an appropriate choice. Many districts did not do that because they did not have to do that. So the reference in the law regarding the parent education actually is a reference being made to, once the curriculum is chosen, that there has to be a parent education component and all materials have to be available to parents prior to opting out. You can't opt out of something if we don't have the curriculum. So this whole issue of can we opt out or not opt out isn't the issue today, actually. The issue today is the curriculum. Once you have the curriculum, you can move forward with the other processes that you would put into place. So I want to make that clear, because that kind of got muddled, that somehow this curriculum had to be made available and to every extent possible, and that's actually referencing once it's chosen and you're moving into the implementation phase. And so I do want to reiterate, we did a process. It's not required. This is a supplemental material. It's not a full adoption. We treat it as such because we knew that we needed community input. We knew that we needed to be transparent about the process. And the staff did due diligence, and they're going to take you through a couple things here that are going to show when those communications actually went out and how they went out. Because to say it happened all 6 weeks ago is not a fact, actually. It started last year. And I do want to thank and honor everyone on that committee, because I know many of you right now are feeling pretty awful, and you actually shouldn't. You did the job you were asked to do. You reviewed the curriculum, you spent your time, you volunteered, and you put forth your best effort. You do not, absolutely do not deserve to be put down in any way or made to feel awful. So if you are, I apologize to you, because you shouldn't. And you did the job you needed to do. And now it goes to the board, and it's their right to vote. So I'm going to turn over to my staff.
Good evening. I want to just start before I introduce Hans and Mary to the audience, and I want to thank the students who were brave enough to get up and speak tonight and apologize to you for the audience behavior. I want you to rest assured that there are many caring adults in this audience who value and respect your opinions. And now I want to introduce Hans Barber and Mary Allred Enright, who would like to share a few more things before asking you to take action and approve the task force recommendation.
Thank you, Diane. Good evening, board, our audience friends. Before I start with anything, I want to take a moment to assure the board, the superintendent, the staff, the parents, the teachers, everyone in this room, and anybody else listening on the internet or watching. I want to make it readily clear that the task force had nothing in mind but what was in the best interest of your children. Yes, there is a law that was changed that requires us to be compliant.
Thank you.
And our best interest was in your children. That is why we were charged with this task. I want to thank many of the community members, board members, for asking questions. Without questions being asked, we don't know what the questions are. We don't know how to respond. So in the past many weeks, as you know, we come to you now for the third time in public session. And our first meeting was on February 14th. You might recall that. So we're talking about 6 weeks ago. And during that 6 weeks, myself and Mary, Diane, and some of our other task force members have continued to try to do due diligence on questions and correct misaccurate information, and reach out to folks that needed more information, maybe to make a more informed decision, to reach out to community members. This is not the first time that we did that. I want to reiterate that I wrote an article that was in a newsletter that was sent to every single household in this school district. Everyone. Now, I'll tell you where I got that. My mother-in-law lives in this school district. And she pulled that out of pride and said, I got this and I wanted to give it to you. My mother-in-law does not have children in this school district. I know for certain that that letter, that mailer, went out. It was a beautiful colored mailer. And that is how I got it. So to say that we did not inform the public is absolutely incorrect. As you can see, I'm getting a little passionate about this because I want to reiterate that my mother-in-law is 75 years old and does not have children in this school district and received the mailer and read it. Since we started this process 6 weeks ago, we've been developing a list of questions and answers. We've worked readily with Health Connected, who has been extremely responsive to you as a community. Extremely responsive. More so than any organization that I have ever worked with in my 24 years in this career. Their response has been amazing. They've met with individuals. They've talked with us numerous times about how they might improve on what it is that the questions are. How can they clear up the misconceptions? What can we provide to you to help this process move along? Amongst other things that was posted on our website was a full FAQ from Health Connected. And if you have not looked at it, I would encourage you to do so. It has many, many questions. Again, those questions came from staff. Those questions came from community members. Those questions came from board members. And they responded as an organization in the best interest of your children to help with misconceptions. If you have not had a chance to read that, I would suggest going and reading every single word of it. We have also posted on our website, and hopefully many of you have seen this. We added this page, I honestly can't remember, probably 2 to 3 weeks ago, and we have updated this page literally daily, sometimes hourly, with the most accurate information that we can come up with and the most current information. So there are several links on this on our website here. This one here, Cupertino Union School District Human Growth and Development Question and Answer. That is something that Mary and I have been compiling on a regular basis. So as I receive emails from whomever that might be, I try to formulate the question, formulate an answer, provide something that would be helpful to a parent if they were reading it, to a board member, to whomever might be reading it. This is that Q&A. Many of the questions that have come up tonight, if I can get my computer to talk, are addressed in this Q&A. So why do we need to adopt it? I think at this point you all understand that that's because of the California Healthy Youth Act. There's a news article here that's easily accessed. You can read that. It gives you a lot of information and background as to why this law came into effect. This is the second piece. How did we form this task force? The initial call was, and if you click here on this link, you will find that newsletter that I mentioned. It is a full-color newsletter that was sent to every single household in the district. And here is the article that calls for volunteers. Yeah, I hear murmuring in the background, but I don't know what to say to them, okay? This is the newsletter that was sent to every single household via U.S. mail. Okay? Folks, I've been sitting and listening to all of your comments very respectfully. And I would appreciate you giving me that same level of respect. Thank you very much. So in conclusion, I'd like to reiterate the amount of work, the amount of time that myself, that Mary, that other staff has spent to respond to legitimate questions, legitimate concerns, concerns that come from wanting what is best for your own student. And I want you to take heart again that the task force had nothing else but that very thing in mind. I'm now going to introduce Mary Allred-Enright, who is our coordinator of instruction.
Thank you. I'm Mary Enright, and I wanted to just wrap up today with a summary of the California Healthy Youth Act. And I'm doing that by reading the letter for a matter of public record and to inform some of the community members that may be viewing this online about, this is a letter from the American Civil Liberties Union sent to the Cupertino Union School Board members on Thursday, March 23rd, via U.S. mail and electronic mail. Dear Board President Kausar and members of the Board of Education, we understand that the Board of Education of the Cupertino Union School District will vote on the adoption of a new curriculum for teaching comprehensive sexual health education in district middle schools at its meeting on March 28, 2017. The ACLU was a sponsor of the California law governing comprehensive sexual health education, the California Healthy Youth Act, which became effective in January of 2016. Since its passage, we have worked with California school districts and communities to ensure its implementation. We are therefore concerned to learn of the effort in the Cupertino Union School District to delay adoption of a legally compliant curriculum. Schools play an essential role in providing young people with the knowledge and skills they need to form healthy relationships and protect their sexual health. Comprehensive sex education is effective in both delaying the onset of sexual activity and increasing condom and contraceptive use among youth who are already sexually active. Additionally, sexual health education that is inclusive of LGBTQ people benefits all students by creating a positive effect on school climate overall and in helping LGBTQ students feel safer in school. These are among the reasons that the California established requirements for sex education over a decade ago, and why the California Healthy Youth Act, which strengthens and updates those requirements, was enacted with the support of the California School Board Association, the California State Parent Teacher Association, and the California Teachers Association, amongst others. Under the California Healthy Youth Act, comprehensive sexual education must be taught to students in grades 7 through 12 at least once in middle school and at least once in high school. It may also be taught prior to grade 7. The law has very specific requirements regarding the content of this education. These requirements include, but are not limited to, the following. In all grades, comprehensive sexual health education must be medically accurate and be based on current and objective information and be free of bias. It must affirmatively recognize that people have different sexual orientations and be inclusive of same-sex relationships in its examples. It must teach students about gender, including gender identity, and explore the harm of negative gender stereotypes. It additionally must provide students with the knowledge and skills for making and implementing healthy decisions about sexuality, including negotiation and refusal skills to assist students in overcoming peer pressure and avoiding high-risk activities. Comprehensive sexual health education must encourage students to talk with their parents and other trusted adults about human sexuality. Additional requirements apply to instruction in grades 7 through 12. These include, but are not limited to, the following. Comprehensive sexual health education must include information about the safety and effectiveness of all methods for preventing pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections They're approved by the Federal Food and Drug Administration, as well as information about the benefits of delaying sexual activity. It must provide students with information about the relative risk of sexual activities in transmission of HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. It must also include information about pregnancy and all pregnancy outcomes, information about sexual assault and harassment, and information about accessing local resources for sexual and reproductive health care. The Teen Talk curriculum, published by Health Connected, which is proposed for adoption in the Cupertino Union School District, has been reviewed by a committee of experts convened by the California Adolescent Sexual Health Work Group, ASHWIG. This review committee evaluated a number of California's most frequently used curricula for compliance with the California Healthy Youth Act. The committee included representatives from the California Department of Education, the California Department of Public Health, as well as Fileta Burlingame of ACLU. The Teen Talk curriculum was found to be substantially compliant in major categories with updates to medical information and only minor adjustments needed for full compliance with the law. After the ASHWIG review was published, Health Connected made the requested changes to the curriculum. The California Healthy Youth Act has been in effect for over a year, and the curriculum previously used in the Cupertino Union School District does not meet the requirements of the law. It is the obligation of the district to provide students with legally compliant instruction, and this should be done without further delay. School districts in California have found the cost of failing to follow the law's requirements to be substantial. In 2015, a Fresno Superior Court awarded the ACLU and Pro Bono Council over $450,000 in attorney's fees for litigation against a school district for failure to comply with California's sexual health law. In making this award, Judge Donald S. Black ruled that, quote, access to medically and socially appropriate sexual education is an important public right. The vast majority of California parents, 89% across all demographic groups and geographic regions, according to research conducted by the Public Health Institute, support the teaching of comprehensive sexual health education in schools. Those parents who do not wish their child to receive sexual health education may request in writing that their child be withheld from instruction. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions. Sincerely, Fileta Burlingame, Reproductive Justice Policy Director. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now is the time. If we have any new questions to ask the staff, we should do that, and then we can probably each make a statement as how what we want to say and go from there. I have a couple of questions which I want to ask to see.
I have no questions for the staff.
Okay.
No, I don't have a question.
So as I understand, we sent out a superintendent's message, and the call for committee members is buried inside that newsletter. And I'm wondering, did we send out any email blast to the community as we have done for so many other occasions?
The same article was in every single school newsletter.
No,
in
and an
April.
email blast. Did we send out any email blast?
The same notification was in every single school newsletter.
I'm
in
not talking
April,
about
May,
newsletter.
and June.
I'm
All
talking
three.
about
As
email
far as an
blast
email,
that we do for a lot of other things.
as far
like
as an email, I do not know.
I
I do know that
Can you please not let him finish? It would be very
I do know
respectful if we can do that.
as a school principal, that was my primary means of communication, was my newsletter.
Okay.
And the most effective way that I had to communicate with my own community was through my school newsletter. It went out in electronic format, it went out in paper format. And that was the most effective way. So When you say a specific email communication, not that I'm aware of, but I'm quite certain that every school newsletter goes out in electronic format.
So I'm a current 8th grade parent, and I did look through my email. I did not receive an email blast about this in April 2016, but I did receive email blast in February 2017 when the curriculum was put on display. And then my next question is, was there any other communication to the community from April 2016 to February 2017? Any other communication after the task force was formed? Any communication informing when it's formed, what two curriculum are being considered?
Just to be clear, when we adopted the math curriculum, for example, okay? So we will make a parallel to the math curriculum because that was a core adoption that affected every single student in the school district. All 18,500 or 19,000. So if we make the comparison to the math adoption, we did not send out a notification to parents during the math adoption saying, we are going to invite everybody to view the curriculum until we had chosen the curriculum with our piloting teachers. So we use the exact same process for this.
Let me ask, did you invite any community members to join the math curriculum committee? Was there any parent member on the math curriculum committee?
So,
There
Board
wasn't.
Member Chow, past practice in our school district has been that, and this goes back many years, certainly before my time. okay?
Yes.
But past practice in our school district was that teachers pilot curriculum in classrooms, they choose curriculum.
That's actually.
Parents are not
That brought
involved
up
in
a
that.
really.
Can he
process.
finish?
Okay, that brought out a really good point that I would like to ask is, how come we did not pilot this program first in a few classrooms before we do adoption? Was that ever considered?
I think to pilot this type of curriculum is quite different than to pilot a math curriculum. So in a district of our
Can
size,
we please let him talk? Thank you. Okay.
in a district of our size, to pilot a curriculum that is 10 to 12 days long in one classroom, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. However, based on the community input we've received over the past 6 weeks, since January, in fact, I don't know how we would have chosen those classrooms that would have happened in, first of all, because I don't know that anyone would have been comfortable with us saying, we're going to pilot this curriculum in your classroom. This is just based on what's happened in the last 6 weeks, right? So how would we have chosen those classrooms? How would we have said to parents, we're going to do it in your classroom, but not in your classroom? So in theory, that's an idea, but in the practical sense, it would be very difficult to do in a practical sense, as you heard already about how much angst there is in regard
So
to
you are
cost.
saying it's easier to just implement it right away
I think-
instead here
Leanne,
than
Excuse
just-
me, I think it's important to go back to
Wait,
what Wendy
I'm
said.
not finished. Can
You've
I finish my
interrupted,
comment?
you've interrupted.
I finished. I'm commenting after his comment.
But you're
I
also-
did not interrupt him.
But you're also attacking and
I'm not
hammering away.
attacking.
I think
This
you're. Okay, this staff has worked extremely hard, along with the task force, to go through a process with this that they did not have to go through. They went through it to get public input from the parents involved in the task force. They did not have to go through this process. They were not under any obligation to do it. They have performed this job like they have done every other job and hasn't had it come into question in the way that it has now. You will be lucky in the future if you can ever find a teacher or an administrator who wants to have anything to do with this kind of task force after the way you have treated them.
That's fine.
I have,
I do want to
Okay.
address the
My
communication.
question was regarding piloting. So was it easier to just implement district-wide than choosing a few classrooms to pilot? It seems that would be easier. But of
yeah,
course,
I think
yeah.
Wendy has something to say.
I just want to follow up on your communication. So one thing I do know is that last year I was in, I don't know if any of you happened to be Meyerhold's parents at the parent meeting last year in spring. It was an evening meeting, and I can tell you, the parents there read the material because the question came up and there was a concern about what was coming with the human growth and development information, and we spent time discussing it. And parents talked to parents about it because it was, well, you have a chance to opt out. In other countries, you can't opt out. And so I very distinctly remember that conversation with parents. And then the end result is, parents saying, okay, well, I will be notified when the curriculum is there and the opt-out piece. And that was the basis for that conversation. So I know it did get out because I happened to be there and it was brought up as a question from the parents.
I had a question for Hans. There was a place, we had talked about the current program status, and has it been reviewed in compared to the new law?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The current, a number of times we have heard from parents saying that why don't we just continue using what our current program is? Can you tell us if that was reviewed?
I believe those comments were made at the last board meeting
Right.
about using the old curriculum or the possibility of supplementing that curriculum. What we had done in the interim at the request of actually, I think it was Kristen, was we went back and we used a rubric that was provided from the ACLU that you could use to vet your current curriculum or to vet other pieces of curricula that may not have been vetted by Ashley. Okay? So we went back into that and we vetted it ourselves. In fact, the answer to this question is in the Q&A here. And what we found, there are 32 areas that the ACLU recommends compliance in. And we put the results, let's see if I can find that question. We have handouts with this on it as well. Here it is. So we vetted it based on that rubric. There's a direct link to the rubric on this document that you can look at yourself. And when we looked at it, we found that it was compliant. Our current curriculum was only compliant in 10 of 31 areas. The majority of those areas are in logistical areas, such as, did we inform parents before instruction? Yes. Does it not promote a religious doctrine? Yes. Did we talk about STIs? Yes. The majority of the content either was completely missing or partially there, not all there. The idea that I think that was brought up last time was, could we take the current and supplement it? And what I found when I looked at this very rubric was, to supplement it would be to replace about 80% of it. So when you're replacing 80% of it and you have to meet the tenets of a law, then things like medically accurate, to replace that and supplement it is quite different than to actually just say, I think it's time for something new. And that is why we went out for something new. It would have been very, very difficult to just supplement what we have right now. So I think that addresses your question.
Yes. Any other questions? I think if you just want to go around and make comment, and then we can move it.
Go ahead, you're on.
Mine is really long, so
Good, go.
I should go first.
No,
No,
go ahead.
So I'd like to mine is really long because I've spent hours and hours and hours on this. Thank you. I'd
Lean
like
into your microphone.
First, I'd like to thank Wendy for doing this curriculum adoption process through a public process. I'm told that other districts adopted this quietly, and thank you, Wendy, for doing that. However, this is really a really good process that's important. And I'd like to thank Hans and Mary and the task force members for putting in your efforts in these meetings. You should know that I take your recommendation very, very seriously. Specifically because of my respect for your recommendation, when there are parent concerns, when I have concerns of my own about the recommended curriculum, I went out of my way, spent hours to gather more information. If I had any disrespect for your recommendation or your time, I could have just voted no. Be done with it. But I didn't. I spent hours to look, to talk to people, to find other curriculum to compare, and to seek out parents who support the curriculum so that I can get different perspectives. I even sought out LGBTQ alumni who are alumni of CUSD to get their perspective on the curriculum. Well, I did all this because I respect your time and your efforts tremendously. But, so please don't feel that your recommendation is ignored. It weighs heavily on me. And I also spent hours speaking and exchanging emails with Heidi Winnick and her colleague Jeff from the consulting agency, and Abby and Pring of Health Connected. I want to be sure that I didn't vote based on incomplete information or my own bias. Heidi, Jeff, Abby, and Pring are all very friendly and open about their curriculum and gave me great information. I'd like to thank all of them for their work to help the district make our decisions in this important issue. This is a complex and contentious issue. I would like to take some time to state all the angles that I have considered so that you understand the rationale behind my decision. It's a very tough decision. We are not trying to decide whether to provide sexual health care education to our students here. We already do that. We are teaching them from 5th grade to 8th grade. We already provide that. We are not trying to decide whether or not to adopt a new curriculum to comply with AB 329, California Healthy Youth Act. It goes without saying that we will adopt one as soon as possible while we make responsible decisions and following legal process. We are deciding whether to adopt this particular one, Health Connected Team Talk, for 7th grade only this year in April, and not offer any sex education for our 6th, 5th, and 8th grader. If we adopt this 7th grade curriculum, our 5th graders would miss out on any sex education this year when they are going through puberty. So that's something which it should weigh on us. For various reasons, the task force didn't consider adopting one curriculum for all 4 years from grades 5 to 8. It was decided that they would adopt only 7th grade curriculum, and there was no plan for what to do for other grades. In our rush to comply with the minimum requirement of the California Health Act, we are throwing away our good practice of providing sexual health education from 5th to 8th grade in one swipe. Our 5th graders will learn their puberty. Sorry, I kind of said that already. Wouldn't it be more responsible for us to consider a curriculum for all 4 years from 5th to 8th together? If the curriculum is not ready this year, let's wait until the curriculum providers update their curriculum to be compliant with California Health Youth Act, and then adopt. In the meantime, we can supplement the existing curriculum with materials to comply with California Health Act. We might not be 100% compliant, but let's face it, no other curriculum is 100% compliant this year. They are all updating it. All the curriculum on the market, they are updating it. As long as we make an effort to supplement, I think we are on the right path. Unfortunately, a lot of decisions are not up to the board to decide. The decision to only adopt 7th grade curriculum and not teach sex education to 5th, 6th, and 8th grade was made by the Human Growth and Development Task Force without communicating with the parents nor the board early on in the beginning in October 2016, and they didn't communicate that to the board or the public until February 2017. It is still not communicated clearly in today's meeting agenda packet. It did not state in today's meeting agenda packet that 5th, 6th, and 8th grade won't have any sex education if we adopt the 7th grade curriculum. And the decision to implement the new curriculum immediately in 2016-17 school year was made also early on without informing the parents nor the board. Otherwise, there would have been efforts made to look into supplemental material. And just in case the new curriculum was not adopted right away, this process would have been started early. But there was no effort to look into the option of supplementing. The Human Growth Development Task Force, like any other task force or committee, is supposed to make recommendation to the board. After taking public inputs, each board member then makes independent decision based on the information available to them. Therefore, it is up to the task force members to provide convincing rationale to support their own recommendation. And I have asked many times for comparison table between the two curriculum, pros and cons of the two curriculum, and I was not given the information. The task force, when they presented in the last board meeting, provided very little comparison material to support their own recommendation. Since a lot of decision has been made by the task force early on, right now, the board is forced to either adopt the only recommended curriculum and the only curriculum on display, or be non-compliant to the California Healthy Use Act. This is just a very unfortunate situation. The reason that recommendation from task force is not acceptable by the parents at the end, it's because the task force has been closed. Had the task force reached out to the parents, announced the meetings, announced the two curriculum that they are considering, and got parent input early on, the eventual recommendation would be a combined result of all these comments and also the board. Then they won't feel that their recommendation is disregarded because their recommendation would have incorporated the comments of parents. And regarding the question of partially opt-out, I spoke to Heidi and Jeff from the consulting agency. They said that all of the curriculum, including Health Connected, do offer a partial opt-out. But it's a district's decision whether to do it or not. It's not the curriculum. All the curriculum they think would be able to offer the option to partially opt-out. We have a letter from ACLU requesting CUSD to become compliant this school year. Since the California Healthy Use Act has been adopted more than 1 year ago, in November 2015. And we also have a letter from another attorney from Pacific Justice Institute representing parents who wants to assert their rights to review both curricula under consideration and the option to partially opt out. So whatever decision we make have to take this into account. On the one side, we have thousands of concerned parents, and then on the other side, we have teachers on the task force who are all supporting the curriculum. For me, it's a really hard decision. But the task force stated that their first priority is compliance with the law. Second priority is minimum opt-out, which I totally agree. We as a school board has an obligation to provide comprehensive sexual education to as many students as possible under the California Health Use Act. If every student who opted out due to our curriculum choice, that's one student who didn't get this important sexual health education from the schools. We should minimize the number of opt-out. I have requested to review all three curricula side by side. The existing one, Health Connected, and Positive Prevention Plus, PPP. But my request was denied by the superintendent. During the March 14th board meeting, I have requested 2 more weeks to put the curriculum on display for 2 more weeks so that parents have a chance to review the curriculum before today's meeting. But my request was denied. Staff quoted some agreement with Health Connected, which turns out it doesn't exist. Staff quoted copyright concerns, which turns out is the right for the public to posting pictures even on the petition is a fair use right. Although all the curricula do cover the same content required by the law, but different curriculum does deliver the message in different methods. Since I'm forced to make this curriculum choice, I want to respect the decision of the task force, so I spent a lot of time comparing Health Connected and any other curriculum that I can find. I compared with San Francisco Unified School District curriculum, which is a high school curriculum, and I compared with another high school curriculum from East Side Union. I examined the contents, specific topics that the parents have concern about, so that I can compare how the different curriculum deliver this same content. So next since we are making a curriculum choice on whether to adopt Health Connected, so I'd like to state my concerns on this curriculum. I understand that Health Connected is a local nonprofit who believes in their cause, and the people in Health Connect that I've spoken to are wonderful. They have a small staff, they have a small budget. I very much want to support their efforts, our local nonprofits. However, we do need to choose one curriculum that's most acceptable for our community so that the maximum number of kids could receive their comprehensive sexual health education in public schools. In Health Connected, they say there is parent education. Except the first lesson with a questionnaire to the parents, all the other lessons did not actively engage parents except probably one line, go talk to your parents. And the Health Connected representatives say that they offer parent education night, but that's the first night before the curriculum starts so that the parents can decide whether to opt in or not opt. The other curriculum choice, Positive Prevention Plus, PPP, I wasn't given the privilege to review this curriculum. However, I was able to review their website, and I spoke to the consultants who also represent PPP. PPP provides take-home homework that has to be signed by parents. So there is a lot more parent engagement, but this part was viewed by the teachers as a downside for the curriculum. For me, I think it's the plus side. Teachers can decide whether the parent signature is required or not, but at least that's a vessel to communicate with the parents throughout the process that the kids are taking this curriculum. And one other concern is that there is a lot of some scenarios of decision making. Decision making process is one very important content about this curriculum. We need to make decision. Teacher needs to know how to make decision on whether they should have sex or not. And in Health Connected, the positive example they provide is two teenagers. They are in love. They decide that they are ready, so they go to teen clinic, and then they get all the supplies and then all the information they need, and they find a place to have sex, and they felt wonderful afterwards. That's the positive modeling of Health Connected. When I spoke to them, I asked, where is the role of parents in this decision-making process? Shouldn't we teach the kids talk to trusted adults first, and talk to your friends who had sex, but then also your friends who decide to wait? When we make a decision, we want to get both sides of both view of the decision, and then we decide what's best for me. But for Health Connected, their concept is they don't think that kids should talk to adults. So that comment I made, but that doesn't fit with their teaching principle. So I'm concerned how that fits in our parent community. And I said that I think a positive example that we should have in such curriculum should be a teenager who decide to wait until college, and then feel that they are still, she and her partner or boyfriend are still very much in love, and they felt good that their decision to wait was great. They were able to focus on academics. But that kind of example doesn't exist, and that's not the kind of example Health Connected feel is necessary to provide to our kids. Even though they do talk about abstinence in every lesson, but that's one line in the lesson. There is no good positive modeling for that. Another concern is the different method to have sex. It's true, every curriculum, even the one we have now, do talk about oral sex, anal sex, and vaginal sex. However, I looked at the curriculum, I looked at the high school curriculum. These different sex methods are mentioned in the context of STI, sexually transmitted disease. And it's mentioned because this sexual act will be more risky, will be a method of transmitting this disease. And that sexual act would be a method of transmitting this disease. It's mentioned in the context of STIs. However, in the Health Connected curriculum, they ask kids to brainstorm different methods of having sex. That's not done in any other curriculum. And then they have one single lesson focused just on, the focus is on the sexual act. In the same lesson, they do talk about which one might cause sex and which one might cause sexually transmitted disease. They do talk about that, but the focus is entirely different. Other curriculum that I've seen focused on STI and mention different sexual acts, but Health Connected has a totally different focus. And in the San Francisco Unified School District curriculum, I thought that might be more progressive. But whenever they mention anal sex, the curriculum said you should immediately mention that anal sex would have a much higher risk of contracting STIs. That's always mentioned. And also, in terms of, I think a lot of parents want our kids to receive sexual education early because we want them to delay having sex. The San Francisco curriculum has the statistics. It says that the majority of teenagers don't have sex during middle school and high school. This kind of message is very important to send to our kids. It's contrary to what the message they receive in the media. And this is the kind of message we need to send to our kids. That I don't see that from Health Connected. And another thing I'm concerned is the way peer pressure is presented in Health Connected. I spoke to a college student, actually. I asked her, what do you think is the most important topic to offer in sexual education? She said, how to say no. That's peer pressure. In Health Connected, this is done in a way, two students need to role play how to say no. But that means one of them would have to play putting pressure on. So one of them have to want to have sex. The other would want to say no. And these are 7th graders who haven't even had thought about it. Most of them don't even think about boyfriend, girlfriend in our community. They haven't, having sex is not practice in their mind. They are asked to role play, putting pressure on your partner to have sex. And another kid might be learning to say no. But is that the best way to deliver this message? So I looked at other curriculum. Other curriculum, they provide examples. For example, your boyfriend wants you to have sex. You really love him. How do you say no so that you don't ruin your relationship? And there are models of examples of sentences that you can say. These are the kind of information we need to provide our kids. Without any modeling, we want 7th grade to be able to figure out how to say no to a partner they really love, they don't want to offend. How to say no when your friends are all maybe having sex and you are thinking about it. How do you like that? You need to really give them positive modeling and examples of what to say. That's not provided in Health Connected. And another parent has a concern that in Health Connected, long-term impact of STIs are not mentioned, which is actually incorrect. I met with Health Connected yesterday, and they do categorize STIs under different columns. This one is curable, and these other ones are not curable. But then I mentioned that shouldn't it be better if we provide, for example, case studies of, I think we want the curriculum to be scientific and to provide the information. So I said, how come there are no case studies of teen pregnancy and how the teens struggle with the pregnancy so that the kids can see the consequences of these actions? How about statistics to show the majority of teens, statistics show that there is actually a pretty large percentage of teens who contract STI when they have sex during teenage years. Because however you are careful, a lot of times you do contract this disease. It's like 20 or 25% of teens do have STIs. I think this kind of message is important. Kids should know that, to see the consequences of their actions. However, for Health Connected, this is not their philosophy. They think this is scare tactics to scare kids to not have sex. They say, according to research, they want to not put negative stigma for teenage pregnancy or people who have STI, so they don't want to talk about this kind of statistics. Whether this research, it might be, so they think it's a more current practice to not use statistics to scare kids, to help the kids see the consequences of their actions. That's to be debated. However, that's the kind of curriculum Health Connected is. Not every curriculum is the same, even though they offer the same content. I have to say, I'm being very unfair to Health Connected because that is the only curriculum I have seen in full. And everything I have concern with, I sort of assume there is some other curriculum out there that might be better. But if I put PPP and Health Connected side by side, there might be 10 other issues in PPP that I'm not happy with. I don't know, but I was not given that chance to compare them. So all I can say is these are the concerns that I have with Health Connected. Since I couldn't see PPP, but the consultants did give me some information. PPP is widely used. It's supported by Red Cross. It's well funded. So they have a lot more parent resource and teacher resources that Health Connected couldn't provide because Health Connected is a local nonprofit. They are just starting. So they are trying to provide more material, but not as well, not as much as PPP. And also, one downside that people say about PPP is it looks more like a science curriculum, so it's boring, according to the task force members. But we are teaching them in a science classroom, and science is boring, but our teachers has the ability to make them interesting to engage our children so that they can retain the materials. And PPP curriculum material looks more detailed and more comprehensive. And Health Connected, a lot of times there's not a lot of support for each lessons. And like I said earlier, PPP has strong parent engagement, but through take-home sheets that parents have to sign. So here's my proposal. My proposal is to postpone the current curriculum decision until we can adopt one that we can use consistently for grades 5 through 8. We shouldn't do this piecemeal. Adopt 7 this year and think about 5, 6 next year. Just to be compliant, I think we are throwing away our very good practice of providing sexual education for all 4 years away. This year, we can supplement the existing material with other compliant curriculum. They are free and downloadable online. Heidi suggested that we can look at 3RS. It's, I forgot the full name. And she said there are other districts who do supplement the existing curriculum. As I said, we don't have to be 100% compliant as long as we make an honest effort to supplement. I think ACLU would understand our dilemma and give us 1 more year to do a full adoption for 4 years. Another option that I mentioned earlier is to pilot Health Connected in a few classrooms, but that I think will be less likely. Okay, sorry, it's almost done. Of course, any supplemental material should be prepared by that district for the teachers, maybe using the 11 or 15 ISTs we have. My understanding is that science and history teachers often supplement outdated materials in the textbooks. So this should not be a new practice. I think our teachers should be pretty skilled at that. At the same time, we should plan parent workshops to educate parents about California Health Youth Act, to prepare them for the inclusive curriculum we adopt eventually. I don't think we should wait until the curriculum adoption. We should start before we have a new task force. We should start now, educate the parents what we need in the new act. And as for the legal aspects, the last paragraph. ACLU's mission on their website is to defend and preserve the Constitution's promise of liberty for everyone in our country. The right for each school district to choose a curriculum should be respected. The right for parents in each school district to review curriculum and provide comments before curriculum adoption should be protected too. ACLU has been fighting to protect individual rights so that government officials are not just following the letter of the law. CUSD has made genuine efforts towards complying with AB 329, the California Healthy Youth Act. There are some roadblocks along the way. We just need some time to build more understanding and trust among the parent community. Let's take one more year to make a full curriculum adoption for grade 5th to 8th. And let's find some way to supplement so we are in some way compliant with the Healthy Youth Act. Thank you.
Also had an individual here talking about the PGI letter tonight. I just wanted, was something that we meant to add, that we did talk to the district council. Wendy and I got onto a phone conference just to be sure, what does that mean? And the district's council, reviewed the letter and they advised the board to continue with the consideration and action this evening. They said, the action by the district is required by the state law, and the curriculum itself was not developed by the state working group, which includes state agencies and California School Boards Association. The district provided multiple opportunities over several months for members of public to be involved in the selection of the curriculum, and much of the curriculum has been available online for review. The law does not require a review period for the curriculum before the board adoption. It only requires the ability for parents to review the adopted materials before deciding if they would like to opt out. The district will provide these opportunities, as we all know, if the curriculum is adopted. And what the board is doing today is not talking about an opt-out policy, but what we're talking about is adopting a curriculum. And so there is no intention about, we don't have any intention to make it difficult for people to opt out if they want to opt out. What we have on, they said, is really about the curriculum and not about opt-in or opt-out.
And I just want to clarify a few things, just, to be fair, you were very thorough, and we know that, because you updated us on everything you were doing as you went. But the one communication that wasn't there was, when we did give you a list of all the districts that were implementing Health Connected, that's the one area you didn't look at, which is how are those districts doing, how has the community responded, how is the district doing? So I just want to make that known for staff, because I think you were thorough, but that's the one piece that was left out. And then I do want to clarify two other things. One, I think it's easy to tell the room that I denied you of additional time for a review. It's easy, because I'm sitting here and normally I don't say much. But we know that's not true. So the board gets to tell staff, you all gave us the dates for those reviews as a board. Not one person, it's a board. And when you brought that up at the board meeting on the 14th, it was the board. The board did not
board did not respond.
Correct.
Because Diane gave us misleading answer that there is an agreement.
You
So
can't
that
speak for
prevents
them,
us from
actually, so if they
viewing.
want to address it, that's fine. I'm just clarifying that I did not personally deny you. I did not say that. I just want to make
Oh,
it clear.
no, you did. So what I said you denied, I sent you an email that I would like to see all three curriculums side by side so I can compare the content.
Mhm.
I sent that through email and you did say no in
No,
the
that was a
email.
different, I just didn't say that, did I? If that's on video. What I said is on the 14th. No.
Sorry,
I'm addressing the email. and I'm
Sorry,
addressing
I
my person.
misunderstand.
Can
You
we
are
just-
talking about 14. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yes,
My
thank
fault.
you. So you're all getting angry with me. She just changed the topic in the middle, so I didn't even get to that one yet, So I'm just clarifying because the board is the one who gave us the direction as a whole on that item.
No, the board didn't give a direction last time. March 14th, when I requested for 2 more weeks of viewing, but Diane answered that there is an agreement with Health Connected that prevents her from giving us more time to view.
Yeah,
And
you said I
then she
denied
was
you. But you
concerned
said I
about
denied you.
copyright. So the board didn't even get
no,
a
but
chance to
Leanne,
discuss
if you
at
would
the
have,
time.
if you wanted that, you could have made it as a motion, and if there were other members of the board who had agreed with it, they would have seconded your motion, and then we would have taken a vote, but that did not happen.
Oh,
What
blame
happened?
the board, yeah.
So that's why,
Well, it wasn't, well, you said I denied you, but I did not deny you of that. I never said that. I never said no. I never did any of that. It
I
was
didn't
something
blame,
you,
I didn't say you, I said Diane gave us wrong information.
well, you
For
actually
this, I
earlier said
didn't say you.
specifically that I denied it. So I just wanted to clarify that, that's all.
Okay, yeah.
And then my last one is on the supplemental curriculum. So if we were to have staff say that tomorrow, that staff, many of them sitting over there, has to create a supplemental curriculum. So the first thing you have to realize is in order to do that, it's a whole process, because once it's created, I'm sure all the parents here would want to see it and vet it and go through it. You, yes, yeah? So we can't just go, oh, we'll just create it and put it into place, because then we're going back through a whole entire process, which 6 weeks wasn't enough. So we heard that. So if we create it, which is going to take weeks of time to research, follow up, and do it properly, and then more than 6 weeks to go through a review and committee process, it's not possible. The other part is it would be it's a lot of pressure to put on staff to say, now you create a curriculum that somehow is going to make it through. Because sitting here, it's been hard. And so I think that's an unrealistic ask. I just want to clarify that. So.
okay, Phyllis?
I have listened to the public comments over the last 3 meetings, and I have read lots and lots of emails. I've had a lot of meetings with parents and teachers, and I've heard lots of opinions on both sides, and I'd like to thank everyone for sharing their opinions with me and with us. I taught human growth and development for many years, and I did review the new materials. I support this human growth and development curriculum for a few reasons that I'd like to share. Number one, I believe it's important for our students to get medically accurate information about sexuality, not hear inaccurate information from peers. In no way did I see anywhere where our curriculum encourages sexual activity among middle school students. I think it did an excellent job of describing the health risks and making students aware that all sexual activity has risks. Number two, I keep losing my place, excuse me. Number two, it is important that we are in compliance with current law. This curriculum complies with the law and was thoroughly vetted by a broad-based committee who is recommending the materials. Number three, parents had an opportunity to view the materials at the Teacher Resource Center, and there will be parent education nights at all of our middle schools to further inform parents about the curriculum. I believe it is planned that the materials continue to be available for parent review at the middle schools. Number four, I respect that some of our families hold cultural and religious beliefs and family values that differ from mine. And those families can opt out of this curriculum. And as Anjali said, we haven't identified what the opt-out process is, but we know there will be one. That's the law. The children of those parents who support the curriculum should not be denied access because of the parents who don't support the curriculum. Number five, some parents have requested to opt out portions of the curriculum. Personally, my personal opinion is that I am opposed to piecemealing the curriculum. And I also think it would be difficult for teachers. Having been a teacher myself, I know that the most carefully planned lesson plans can easily be derailed by questions from students. And that's a good thing, because it means that the students are engaged with the material. Either the teacher with 100+ students would have to remember which students opted out of portions and exclude them if the questions were part of the opted out portion, or he or she would have to let the students know that they were not able to answer the question. And neither of those are good instructional practices. I don't know what's going to happen on the partial or the full opt-out, but I'm just offering that as, I think, a barrier to the partial opt-out. I do agree with Liang on the 5th through 8th grade curriculum. My recommendation would be that we adopt the 7th grade curriculum tonight, and that Wendy speak with the staff about the next step being to put a curriculum in place for 5th, 6th, and 8th, because I think those are important parts of children's sexual development and their education. And the other thing is, if we approve it, I would like for the staff to track the percentage of students that opt out. And the last thing I would like to say is that during the course of the emails that I received and the phone calls that I received from many, many parents, one of the things that was said to me was that from parents who object to the curriculum, said to me, if you approve this curriculum, you won't have my vote the next time you run for office. And I just want to say that I have never, since I've been on the board 10 years, made a decision based upon whether or not I would get a vote. My decisions have always been based on what I believe is best for children. So I want to make that very clear. Thank you.
My turn. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank Wendy to open this process. This is not every district do it. A lot of districts, they just adopt the curriculum and they feel it's compliant with the law. So I appreciate this open process. And second, I also appreciate the task force. They put tons of time and also put a priority. First, the curriculum need to be compliant, and second, minimum the parent opt out. So I think that's very important as well. And I also appreciate everybody's here. I believe everybody put tons of time because this is a controversial issue, especially like the parents in the short period of the time collect 4,000 signature online petition and 1,700 signature in the paper. It's a lot of time. So I do hear everybody's voice. I personally also spent tons of time on this. I don't really want to repeat what Leanne did, but I also had a chance to review 3 different curriculum. One is the existing one, which is the one Hans just mentioned, like they only have 10 parts compliant with the current law. And I also had the chance to review Health Connected. I also have the chance to review 3Art because it's free and online. So I do have the chance to review all 3 of them. I don't have a chance to review PPP because it's not available. So I make the decision very mindfully. And I think compliance is always very important because it's save taxpayers' money. It's also because of the law, and we have to compliant. But I think textbook is not the key for compliance. instead of adopting the textbook, I think we should just teach what's the content required by law. I also know the law say in the section 15933D1, instruction and the materials shall be appropriate for use with police of all races, genders, sexual orientations, and ethnic and cultural backgrounds, police with disability, and the English learned. So after I review the recommended textbook, I don't really feel it's culture appropriate for our district. So and every district is different. San Francisco, they adopt their own. Oakland adopt their own. Our district probably very unique. So I think the textbook is not the key of compliance, but we do need to teach the curriculum required by the law and cultural appropriate.
I would, echo quite a few things that my fellow board members have said, but I want to respond to something one of the speakers had said, that if I had contacted ACLU, I have not. I don't even know who she is. I just was, my name is on first because I'm the board president, but I've never spoken to Felida, I think is how you say her name. So I did not contact ACLU. If anybody had that question, I just wanted to make sure I responded to it. Again, I want to thank everybody who has addressed the board this evening, and also want to thank the staff and the task force for taking so much time to come up and give us all the information and everything that we needed. This is a very, very challenging decision for us because I don't take it lightly. I'm a parent of 3 children, and I understand the passion and the strength of feeling for this subject. I did review the whole curriculum, and I come from a background from like many of you. And I reviewed it, and I did feel uncomfortable as I was reviewing it, but then I thought of all the wonderful teachers we have who are going to deliver this lesson to our students. They are going to be, as I understand, are going to go through a 10-day or some training to be able to deliver 2 weeks training. 2 days training to be able to deliver this lesson, and they're all science teachers. They have done this before, they know how to do this, and uttermost, I truly believe that our children are their utmost concern, and they have been in our district long time, and so understand the cultural values where we sit and where we come from. And so it is, let it be no doubt in anybody's mind that this is very, very serious, and I totally understand the challenges, and I understand all sides. I have heard you, I have met a number of you, I have read the emails, I have answered the phone calls and looked at every angle of it. And I feel like we as a board, there is something that we as a board are legally required to do, is to adopt a curriculum on this subject. And also, we are, the option is always there for children to opt out. And that's why what I understand is, once we adopt it, then there is going to be parent education, where that the parents would be able to understand the law and go over the curriculum so they understand what it is that is going to be taught to their children and how it is going to be taught. One of our speakers even said, speak to the science teacher who is going to teach this curriculum so you understand how it is taught. And if you're not comfortable at that point, you can decide to opt out. And I would urge, I know it is very difficult for staff to do a partial opt-out, but I would say once we adopt the curriculum, let's look at it. Is there any possibility to do a partial opt-out so that we can comply with the law, adopt a curriculum, and then look at the opt-out? We cannot look at the opt-out options until we adopt something. And a number of parents were talking about not having the option to look at this curriculum. What the law states is once it is adopted, they will have the option to look at the complete curriculum and totally understand it. And this one is the one which is highly recommended by, I forget that acronym, ASHWIC. And so I believe our task force and our staff really took time and brought us the best curriculum that is available currently in the state to follow the laws that are required for us to follow. So, I would not want to spend I would want to spend taxpayers' money on education and not on lawyers' fee. So if we adopt this curriculum, we can move on and we can see how to make sure that when they're teaching it, because my understanding is when they are training the teachers, they are going to be making sure that they are trained properly to deliver this in a medically appropriate and age appropriate method. So we have to trust our teachers that they would do that for our students. They are not encouraging anything here. They are delivering the lessons the way they know best for age appropriate and medically appropriate curriculum. So that's how I feel about this. And I do want to also agree on some of the points where we need to go back and look at the other age groups that we need to provide human growth and development education. But I think that only comes after we adopt this one. We need to do something right now, because otherwise this year, nobody in any grade from 5th to 8th is going to get any health, human growth and development education. I think there is none that's happening this year. So the state law requires, can I finish? The state law requires the minimum that we do is, we are a K-8 district. It is mandatory to do it either in 7th or 8th grade, and I will take it that the task force prefers it to be 7th, so I would to start off in 7th grade, and it is optional in K-6. So we can go to the K-6, look at the other grade levels in future years, but let us adopt this. Let us be legally compliant to make sure that we provide our kids with what is needed, and trust our teachers to deliver the lesson appropriately. And that's what I would say. Now you can say what you want.
Okay, sorry. So this is the first year that this act is enacted. In the beginning of the year, as I understand, only 2 curriculum are compliant. A lot of curriculum, they are updating, trying to become curriculum as time goes on. So I think how likely it is that ACLU would sue us when we are in the process of adopting. We are in the process of trying to be compliant, and we just didn't find the curriculum we like, because the curriculum providers are also in the process of being compliant. So that's one thing. And then another thing is the law, AB 329, California Healthy Youth Act, is the intent is for every student to receive comprehensive sexual health education in public schools. That's the intent. If we use, you can opt out as an excuse to not adopt, to not make careful, responsible decision on curriculum adoption, some of these parents will not, if we had chosen a different curriculum, they might have felt comfortable with. They want their children to receive this information, and they have the right. It's their right, and it's a right given by this particular law we are trying to be compliant with, to educate their children with comprehensive sexual health education. It's just this particular curriculum recommended doesn't fit the cultural value of the demographics of our parent community. And the other curriculum, PPP, was not given. We were not given a choice to look at PPP.
I think we've all had a chance to speak. I think we should vote.
Yes. Because
You've said those are things you've said before.
yes, so in order to vote, we need to make the motion, which is the staff recommendation of adopting So it's approval of human growth and development supplement curriculum. I need a motion for that.
I move that we follow the staff's recommendation and adopt the human growth and development curriculum.
I would second that. So roll call vote. Liang,
No.
Phyllis,
Yes?
Kristen?
No.
I'm going to vote like yes. So what does that leave us? We have to go back to legal to find out?
Well, no, we're at, it does not pass because you don't have a majority vote, because we're missing a member.
Okay, so what do we?
So it's not a vote.
Moving on to agenda item 9.2. Do we have any?
Yes.
Excuse me, I do have a question. So are we still going to offer the existing curriculum to 5th to 8th?
No, nothing.
It's not compliant.
Why can't we still offer 6 to the existing one?
The existing curriculum is not compliant.
There are other districts who are still teaching not
You
existing
would have to, if you
curriculum.
want to deal with that question, you would probably have to re-agendize it.
We'd have to put it on the
and
agenda for
say
another
that you
meeting.
want to implement a non-compliant curriculum. That would be your choice.
That's why I said we would not have it. We have no health education this year for our students.
So, but we had a hung jury. What? We had a hung jury.
Oh, God. One time I wasn't. I got some work. You know what? I haven't had time to work in like years. It was nice to get it.
So we have agenda item 9.2.
Okay, I'm going to call a speaker, Lori Cunningham, for 9.2.
Well, we have a meeting to continue, please. So if you would like to take your conversation, you can go outside, but we would like to continue our board meeting. Thank you.
Does she have 3 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
At the March 14th meeting, all 5 of you together took a stand for transparency and rebuilding trust in this district during your discussion of opening up our budget advisory meetings. Thank you. In summary, you stated that you wanted Budget Advisory Committee to be an open process and meeting. You reached consensus to notify current members of the Budget Advisory of your plans out of respect at the March 15th meeting. Together, you all agreed that tomorrow's meeting would be open, and you directed staff to notice and publicize the meeting 72 hours in advance accordingly. So it is with great disappointment that I understand that things did not go as directed. I received email notification from EC late last week, which reads in part, since the last board meeting, we have been instructed by the board president to treat the Budget Advisory Committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday, March 29th as a closed meeting to the public. In light of that, I'd like to ask the entire board how the public should view this action in direct contradiction to what you all agreed to and provided direction for in the last meeting. Either you've got a rogue president making unilateral decisions with staff in direct contradiction to the decisions the rest of you made, or you've got a potential Brown Act violation if there was work behind the scenes to gather a majority support for different direction outside of an open meeting. I'd appreciate it very much if your discussion can include how each of you characterizes this broken promise to the public from the March 14th meeting. Regarding the recommendation to keep Budget Advisory closed, I respect the members of BAC unequivocally. If they aren't comfortable, the question should be how can we support them, not defaulting back to the status quo. I do think in districts that are committed to transparency, comfort may sometimes be secondary in asking them for their service. None of this is comfortable for any of us, period, but we all do it for kids. Trust in this community is broken, despite the chronic marginalization of us to 5 or 10 dissatisfied voices. You have thousands signing petitions who are expressing to you, sometimes repeatedly, that their trust is broken. You yourselves identified that opening up Budget Advisory is a principled first step in starting to change that pattern. I've said it before. Transparency is about putting all of the facts out there to begin with, despite some of them being uncomfortable. It's showing that you have nothing to hide about what actions are taken because the grounds for them and the people making them are visible. It's embracing dialogue where questions can be asked and answered in open and honest ways. You don't do it because it's easy or not met with bumps along the way. You do it because giving all stakeholders the opportunity to understand how you arrived at your decisions builds bridges. Bridges you desperately need right now. You create allies with understanding. Please reject the staff recommendation to line out budget advisory from board policy. Please be true to your commitment to begin the process of rebuilding the public trust by opening the budget advisory committee meetings. Please reassure budget advisory members that their processes need not be interrupted by this transition unless we let them be interrupted. And since that direction is up to you, the board, they will not be prevented from completing their task at hand by this shift towards transparency as long as you make it so.
Thank you. I just want to start off by answering something that she said, rogue president. I don't know how rogue I was, but I want to make it very clear that I did not contact anybody on the Budget Advisory Committee. I was told that Chris had spoken to the Budget Advisory Committee and they were not comfortable opening it up. And because we as a board had not taken any we had not taken a vote. Yes, we had kind of given direction, but we had not taken a vote. I felt comfortable enough to tell her, when I was asked by Wendy if I could, what to do, I said, well, if we haven't taken a vote, then where does it leave? And there was like, if we don't take a vote on an item, then we don't have to do it until we take a vote. So all I said was, okay, let's just wait until our 28th meeting. And if you all remember, I even said that at the last meeting. I wasn't sure why we needed to open it so fast. It was kind of done really fast and we were just, so I'm not a rogue president and I just agreed to what staff said, that the Budget Advisory was not comfortable opening it, and I thought it valid a discussion again at our board meeting when we make a decision on this to see what direction the board as a whole wants to go. So that's about that. So we have any questions that, Chris, you want to?
I was just going to offer further clarification.
Sure.
Good evening. Just to reiterate, the communication that came to Lori was from me. And again, just to further clarify that the board had the conversation about open transparency with the Budget Advisory Committee. But again, as directed, I understand that you, the board, wanted to continue having that conversation tonight to decide what to do with the board policy. And so my email to Lori was just to ask and have her understand that you as a board need the time to further discuss this, even though it was a conversation that we had the last meeting about making the meeting more open. But since you didn't take any action at that time, I just again convey the message that you as a board wanted the opportunity and time to discuss this further, because there was some concerns and some feedback that both Leslie and I received back from the Budget Advisory Committee that I think is important that you either hear from us directly tonight, or Leslie can share as well, so that you can then weigh in on your ultimate decision and what you do with Board Policy 3100.
Okay. So we open, it's an action item where we can discuss it and then take action according to
So can I explain? So the group was uncomfortable, and part of it was they were a committee that's already established and moving, and was part of a committee based on parameters that are preset, if you will, right? You're part of a group and you understand how you work, and then if that abruptness of someone's coming in, next week, that can be a shock to the group that's working. So our recommendation actually is to move forward with removing that line, because that line's a gray type of line, and we have researched it. We called CSBA, we talked to our attorney, trying to figure out, how do you make that better, because it's a CSBA policy, and the funny thing is it's their policy, and they need to address the grayness of it, because they have one policy that says a board committee, one that's exactly what we have, and then another one with nothing in it. And the paragraph that's there is actually an optional paragraph. So our recommendation is that we remove that now, and that if you want to revisit that policy in the, moving into next year, and you want to change the way the committee works or any other committees in the district, that you do that, and then the people who are part of that would know what they're volunteering for and would create a process that would meet the needs of the group. And that's basically our recommendation.
What's the term?
The term? The
Mhm.
term of the committee? How long does the committee have a term, Chris?
No.
So,
I'd give them an option to end the year on the work they're doing and then start the year fresh. And it was rather abrupt, I suppose, if you're a member of that committee, to have been working under a certain set of conditions and be told otherwise.
how many meetings are left for that committee?
I believe we have, let's see, I believe we have like maybe 4 to 5 meetings left between now and June.
So this committee eventually will be making a recommendation to the board that the board will have to adopt, right?
Well, currently now, they would be making a recommendation to the superintendent, and then the
So-
superintendent staff would be making a recommendation to the board as we present the budget at that
Mhm.
particular time.
So I think last time when we spoke about this, the intent of opening budget advisory was, I think Lori said there are at least 10 other districts who are operating it as an open board committee. And as I understand, the other district who don't have it open do have very detailed minutes, and this committee and the superintendent also present to the board regular detailed updates, even for personnel cards that I looked at their meeting packet. Even for personnel card, they present to the board different options that they are considering. For each option, these are the amount of dollars that will save, so that the board would give input to the committee along the way, so that this recommendation from the committee won't be a surprise. I think we just saw that the problem with the Human Growth and Development Committee was there was no communication between the board and the committee members. And then at the end, that recommendation decided was a surprise to the board, it was a surprise for the parent community. If we don't want to replace the same scenario, we should consider, if you want to keep it closed, then it has to be regular communication with the board, either board members, well, then will be, it has to be regular communication. As I understand, some committee members on the budget advisory, they have a concern about opening is they have been asking for a lot of information from the district. The district provided some that you have been reluctant to provide. They are afraid once it's open, they won't get any information to make decision on. So that's the sense I got.
I would disagree with that statement. We've been very open with information. The concerns that,
If you have been open, then is it possible? Yeah.
Leanne, can you finish?
So the concerns that was very clear to me were specifically from our bargaining units. The concern that they had is that although we're having conversations about things that could possibly be possible reductions, whether they're in the form of personnel or programs and things, their main concern was that the information would get out unfiltered, uncensored, before they even had an opportunity to bring it up with their own membership. But I will agree with you that the committee had the same thought about there needs to be some communication piece that comes out of the committee, because what I shared with them is that as representatives of their organization, they have a duty to go back and report out information from the budget advisory committee. So I think there was a belief that there ought to be a common communication message that comes out, similar to what we even do with negotiations. I know we can't give the details, but there could be very well some common communication that comes out as the budget advisory meets and talks about some things. But we do agree. I think they do agree that because they have the need also to go back and talk with the membership, the information needs to be sensitive and understanding of really what the conversation is and provide the right context for the information that goes out. So I believe that that is one of the things that they would like to see, because when I shared with them, again, the need to have more of a transparency aspect of it, I think they all felt that that has been something that has been lacking for them, because again, they represent their members and they need information to go back and report out as well.
So are there minutes right now posted online?
Yes, there's minutes from every meeting, and I don't believe we are posting the minutes up.
Is it something that's going to happen with the new website come up now, or is that something that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I mean, up until now, the meeting has been technically a closed meeting, so we have not been posting the meeting minutes up on the website.
So would that maybe be the communication, or you think it's going to be a separate piece?
I'm thinking that it would be a specifically designed communication that even for the board, to provide them the context of what's going on.
I think also I think the budget advisory receive a lot of information that you are talking about unions representing, but there are parents also represented, but then there is no way for these parents to really reach out to other parents, and there are other parents who want to know how we are deciding on making these budget decisions, because you guys will be making some hard decisions.
No, I totally agree with you.
If we don't make the process transparent, we would be.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you, and the same rationale applies to the parents that serve on the Budget Advisory Committee, whether they are representative of PAC or DAC. They have a duty too to go back and share information that can be shared with their group of parents. So the communication model would be designed to serve their need as well.
Other questions?
So when would the Budget Advisory Committee, was gonna make a recommendation to the staff about what they've been looking at? Do you know about when that was?
I had given them the task that we would have to provide something by our we have an April 4th meeting.
Okay.
So we have tomorrow we're meeting, and then the next meeting would be April 4th. So in alignment